If you are in the process of planning your move to the Philippines, believe me when I tell you, there is a lot to think about. Hello and welcome back to the G5 Family channel. Hope you're having a great day. Thanks for clicking in. And yeah, there are a lot of things to think about. Today we're going to be talking about shipping methods. I'll tell you how we shipped our stuff, but I'm going to also offer you some suggestions on how you can ship your stuff. So there's different schools of thoughts to consider. For instance, is this going to be a permanent move? Maybe it's just a seasonal move. Are you setting up a permanent home in the Philippines, or maybe you're just planning to travel around and live in different areas? Are you a pack rat and you want to take all of your cherished belongings? Or maybe you're not as concerned about stuff and just want to streamline and simplify. Those are questions that only you yourself can answer. Now, as I often say, I like to lead off by sharing my own personal experiences, and for this topic, having lived to tell, I believe I can help you make some important decisions no matter what your plan is, all of which will help you in the long run. So, diving right in, as a step one, and this might seem a little out of order in the process, but just follow along with me and you will understand my thought processes and why this is the best way to start out. Budget. You may or may not be concerned about the cost. I know for me, I wanted to relocate as much, if not all, but at least as much of my stuff as I could, and within reason and practicality, of course. But start with your budget. Decide how much you're willing to spend, and that will help you keep a focus on what you will decide to ship and what will be okay to leave behind. I should also suggest establishing some context. An example of this would be, do I ship my furniture, appliances? These bigger items will have the largest impact on the method you choose to ship your stuff and the cost. Before I dive into the shipping methods, let me mention that for electronics, electric appliances, power tools, and such, the electric power over here is 240 volts. So pay attention to the voltages on your stuff. If it says input is 100 to 240 volts, you're good to go. But if it only says 100 to 110 volts, then you'll want to decide whether or not to send it over. And then right behind that suggestion, there are these AVRs, and I highly recommend that you purchase an AVR or multiples when you get here. These are automatic voltage regulators. And the cool thing about them is, aside from regulating voltage to your powered items, is that they also give you a 110 volt inverter. So you can bring your 110 volt stuff, you'll just need to be sure and plug them into these inverters to use them. And believe me, I've accidentally blown a couple of items by not realizing they were 110 only. A year or so after moving here, I bought AVRs for both my entertainment setup and my office computer setup. In fact, I might do a video on that topic because I would have done a lot of things differently in the beginning had I known about AVRs. All right, so let's get into the shipping. Now, there are two primary methods that you'll be looking at. Number one, shipping container. Now you can get a 20 foot, which is a half container, or a 40 foot, which is a full container. The second option, beyond boxes. If you're not already familiar with the shipping method, you should check into it. You can fill up the box with most anything you need to ship, no matter the weight, and the cost covers door-to-door shipment. No paperwork, no hassles, no customs. Just pack it up, seal it up, and most companies will even pick it up at your house. And then depending on the shipping company, they will offer two boxes, usually like a standard size and a jumbo size. Both will have a fixed rate, which is usually about $110 for the standard size, up to $125 or so for the jumbo box. All right, so those are the main two methods, but I'll also add, just as a side note, that if you're a single guy and you're planning on a long-term stay, you might just pack a box that you can fly with you on your flight to the Philippines. International flights typically allow 2 check-on luggage. These can be suitcases or boxes. When we traveled here, we took full advantage of this, and for all 4 of us, 4 tickets, we traveled 4 suitcases and 4 boxes filled with stuff we would need day one upon arriving here. Just check your airline for the exact weights, dimensions, as well as prohibited items and stuff like that. Okay? So once you've decided your budget, now you can consider your method as well as what you plan to ship. Now let's start with the shipping container method. This is a good way to go if you're planning to ship a full household of stuff. And let me add this, you will love having your stuff here. The quality of furniture, the electronics, things are every bit as expensive, but the quality that we're accustomed to is lacking for a lot of things. Considering what you have invested in your belongings versus what you might be able to sell those items for on Craigslist, and then compared to what you would pay to replace them here, you might find it to be worth the cost to ship these items to the Philippines. So I looked into getting a shipping container for us, and you really need to do your own diligence. Do not let my experience determine what you do. But what I found in doing mine was that even though I live near the port of Houston there in Texas, our container would actually need to ship out of Los Angeles. This was 5 years ago, so things could be different now, but in addition to the cost of the container, I would have to hire a moving service to carry our stuff from Houston to Los Angeles. That felt scary because my preference would be to see my container, oversee our stuff getting loaded into the container, and then all sealed up and loaded on the ship. Another potential concern is if customs decides they need to do an inspection of your container. This can cause delays as well as add additional costs. Then, once our container lands in the Philippines and clears customs, you may not live near the port and will have to hire services to move your belongings from the container to your home city. For me, that was just way too many moving parts to consider. And while I had a good budget, the unknowns could have easily blown through my budget, not to mention the headaches of dealing with one point to the next point, to the next, and so forth. But in my research, again 5 years ago, the cost of a half container was about $2,500 to $3,500, and a full container was about $3,000 to $5,000. And that's the cost of the container only. If I were to estimate the total, all said and done cost, I would easily say $8,000 to $10,000 just to be safe. So I then began looking at the Bleak Beyond method. But this had a drastic effect on our list of stuff that we would be shipping. And by the way, this is what we went with, and it ended up working out perfectly for us. Now, as I mentioned earlier, all of the hassles of moving our stuff to the actual port of departure, as well as the port of arrival here in the Philippines, were all completely alleviated by using the Bleak Beyond shipping. At first, we thought we would be restricted to the size of the box, but in working with FilTex there in Houston, I asked them about larger boxes, and they told me that I could use any box. They would just measure and weigh them separately from the standard boxes. So again, it worked out great. We shipped everything from our normal household stuff, our clothes, to all of our TVs and electronics, all of my guitars, drums, and other music gear, and everything made it here perfectly. We had a couple of dinner plates broken, but we could see that those weren't wrapped as good as the others. So all in all, we shipped a total of 55 boxes, with a lot of them being custom sized. Now, just before I sat down here, I went back and found the receipts, and our total cost was just under $8,000, and again, that was 55 boxes. The standard jumbo box rate was $120, so we had about $1,400 in oversized charges. And probably the coolest thing, and there's no price, you can't put a price on it, was the no headaches. We took the first set of boxes to FilTex, but then they sent a truck to our house and picked up the last load, which was about a 3-hour round trip for them, and they didn't charge us for that. Actually, thinking back, we really had a great experience working with FilTex, and they're actually a Filipino family operation there in the downtown Houston area. So thanks again, FilTex, 5 years later. And I guess the cherry on top of all of that was when our stuff got here. It took 3 months, so 3 months of living on the stuff that we brought with us to finally getting our stuff was incredible. It was like Christmas, but just like a lot better because, you know, we had familiarity and sentimental attachment to a lot of our stuff. So it was a real joyous few days opening and moving our stuff in, hanging our pictures on the walls, you know, eating out of familiar dishes. It was really great. Okay, so let me summarize all of this. First, determine your budget. That will drive the shipping method you choose as well as the stuff you'll ship. Do your research to find out the particulars, and I found the different vendors to be super helpful in explaining everything. If you need to ship a lot of stuff, including large items, the container is probably going to be your best solution. If you're keeping with smaller items, the largest stuff that I shipped was our 60-inch TVs, then the Bleak Beyond program, door to door, that might be your best solution. And as I said, if you're a single guy traveling over, then you may only need your check-on bags. So I hope that helps. As always, I love getting your questions, your commentaries, even your own experiences and insights. So hit the comments below and check the description for links to other resources. All right, so that wraps this one up. I hope you found it helpful and informative. Thanks again for watching our videos. It really means a lot to us. If you haven't subscribed, please do. If you haven't hit the like button, please do. It really helps us a lot. And if you have any other questions or ideas for topics, please drop those in the comments below. I love hearing from you guys, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.